Welcome back to another Patreon first episode of Across the Bifrost. I'm your host, Dr. Norbert, coming to you from the bottom of a Belgian beer bottle. And with me tonight is my dear co-host,
Jamie. Hello, I'm here as well. Yes. First off, I'm just going to completely talk about what we're going to be talking about on this episode straight away, immediately. And my kind of love for how themey this is. So today we're going to be talking about Ensabarnur, right? Which is another name for Apocalypse. But he is also known as the first one, being the first mutant, which was very apt because we also have the first, or one of the first, Across the Bifrost hosts back. Is that too much of a reach? Maybe that was a bit of a reach. But Pat Dunford's
I don't think
here.
so. Yay, Pat Dunford.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be traveling back across the Bifrost with you all.
Yeah,
The first one has returned.
the Podfather is back on the show.
Nice. Very good.
Welcome back, Patrick. We're very grateful to have you here. You're here fresh off of your win of the Belgian Masters Triple XL of 2025. And you won it with Apocalypse. And so we thought it'd be a perfect time for you to come on the show. Tell us a little bit about how you feel Apocalypse works and what you think some of the winning strategies are on the tabletop.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. I tell you what, when I saw you were doing Patreon episodes of people who were doing well with affiliations, I thought, okay, I've just got to bide my time. I've got to push and do well with something so I can get invited onto the podcast. And I'm glad that my persistence has paid off.
Absolutely.
Now you're here. It's been, I will say something as well, since this is probably the first time, this is the first time we've had you on since we, brought Across the Bifrost back. There's been a strange amount of responsibility felt by myself and Norbert with this podcast, because people now, recognize us when we go to events. That's new. And we've spoken to so many people that were like, oh, I, originally listened to Across the Bifrost, which got me into the game, and I could be like, oh, cool, yeah, me too. And I've spoken to at least, 4 or 5 people now that have said that they are coming back to the game because the podcast is back.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which is really cool.
Guys.
But I'm suddenly like, oh my God, we have to, do right by this. This is so much responsibility. It's not being fun. I'm like, I have to really make sure I get this right. And then after every episode, Pat will message me saying, you got that rule wrong. You got that rule wrong. So I'm really feeling the pressure. So and now you're back. I don't know if I feel comforted or, judged. It'd be one of the two.
You just got to say that everything is fine, right? Whenever you're doing a take of the character.
Yeah.
No, it's the vocalization that's the key. It's fine.
3, 3, 3, and 5 health is fine.
Question mark implied.
Yeah.
Also, we've had to clean up our language. We've been told off about that twice now. We've
by Pat Dunford.
Much better at it. A couple of people wrote in about it too, about their kids listening along. It's God.
We've tried to tidy that up. So,
okay, yeah, and we've been all right. I think we've been okay. I think we even got our producer Hannah to clean up some F-bombs, so it's all right.
Yes.
It's okay. We've learned.
Very good. Thanks, Hannah.
We're doing better, Pat. We're trying.
I appreciate it, guys. You're doing great, and I'm loving the podcast. Please keep it up.
All right, Patrick, why don't you first tell everybody what the Belgian Masters tournament was and your basic experience of it there before we get into the roster.
I would love to. So Belgian Masters is one of those rare events in Europe. It's an American-style con, which we mean a con over multiple days with lots of different events on every single day. So this is a convention that has MCP and a couple of other games. There was some War Machine. There was some Old World going on.
Yep.
And it's a very relaxed, very fun event with lots of cool prizes and plenty of beer going in very generous quantities. So, overall, it was a blast. The Belgians are great, right, Norbert?
Yeah, that's super fun. They are so nice and so friendly and also good players as well. So it's like everything all wrapped up in one. And the location was in a new place this time, and we thought it was very comfortable. It took a little longer to drive there than we did last year, but it all went smoothly, actually, both directions. So that was all right.
Yeah, we enjoyed the road trip. Right, 4 nerds in a car chatting about MCP.
It was the best. It was the best.
That's what I'm mentioning as well. Is that like Londoners? You drive there, so it's drivable. You get the ferry, or the Eurostar, right?
Yeah, we got a train under the sea.
Train.
Yeah. So you can totally drive there. It's a road trip. It's not all like flights and stuff. So yeah, it's very very doable.
Yeah. And in fact, because you're going through the train station, you can go to the duty free where I picked up this lovely big bottle of whiskey,
Nice.
which you can only get at duty free shops. So it was a big win for me. Yeah.
Paid for by our Patreon subscribers.
That's right. So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the content as I sip on this delicious whiskey that you helped us buy. In addition to microphone and hosting costs and all those really important things. Correct, Jimmy?
We're not just using the Patreon money to buy normal whiskey.
Yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, Patrick. Yeah, we had a great time. And in fact, I won one of the tournaments. I mentioned it before. I just wanted to, oh, yes, I did.
You won a tournament?
I did. I went 4-0 and had the top strength of schedule for the Purity event.
What's that?
So Purity is affiliation only.
All affiliated.
All affiliated rogue agents. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that tournament. I tried hard with pure affiliated Hellfire Club.
Oh.
And I went in with big hopes, and then they did kind of fine. They were all right.
Fine. There's the Patrick Dunford.
Fine.
Line.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. They were no
that's sad.
apocalypse, but they tried hard.
Yeah. We should briefly touch on that because that's a brand new thing. I don't know how much we're going to really cover it on the podcast. Hellfire Club obviously now have an affiliation. Anything stand out to you as fun?
Yeah, I'll give you my hot take, which is I think there's some characters that are really good. It's really hard when you have to take all of their characters and no splashes at a Purity event. I think that's when you're starting to really struggle because they've only got 3 threats. They're all fragile. There's no 2 threats. And so you're kind of forced to play one way. But I think once you make a proper list with good unaffiliated options, I think you can probably make a really good team. Mr. Sinister was exceptional. He really stood out as being the MVP.
That's great. That's great. A model never sees a table. Did you bring cloning banks?
I played cloning banks in a Funsies game and managed to bring Baron Zemo onto the table.
Oh, God.
So that was pretty cool. I had my clone Baron Zemo.
That goes from very funsies to very serious real quick.
It was fun for me. And I also managed in that game to turn Angel into Archangel with the Fallen. So I was playing 4 threat up on the table. That was pretty great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, good to see. Well, yeah, I mean, that's interesting because a Purity event is a trial by fire for every affiliation, right? It really tests what they can do. So for Hellfire, the brand new affiliation, that's a real, like, here you go in the deep end. But yeah, maybe you're right. Like, somewhere in the middle where they can splash, their Lizard or their Beta Ray Bill, kind of the classic Hellfire splashes. Then yeah, that's really cool. I'm definitely going to go back to them in a year once all of my stupid, horrible, unaffiliated Hellfire games have dropped off. I'm going to give them another run on long term.
Give them a run on hard mode.
Yeah, exactly. That's great.
Right. So let's get into the meat of the episode and review this roster. So we're going to use the roster that Pat won the Belgium Masters with.
Which we should talk about briefly, sorry. So there was confusion with people trying to watch the Belgian Masters on Longshanks. They were confused as to why there were only 8 or 12 in the kind of final event. Do you want to talk about why that is?
It's because there's different events every day and the final event is an invitational. So,
right.
Yeah, you only have so many players.
Yes. So yeah, people saw that and thought that only a small amount of players went to the Belgian Masters, but it's actually much more players went. It was just that kind of final event was the invitational of the weekend.
Now, to be fair, I should say there weren't a huge number of MCP players at the Belgian Masters, and we complained about this last year on Across the Bifrost. I'm going to say it again. Belgian Masters is great, and it deserves more MCP players than it gets. So we were outnumbered significantly by War Machine and even Old World players. Old World, a game that is only a year old. Folks, come on. We could definitely get some more people over to Belgium.
Okay, let's try that. We'll campaign next year.
I don't understand. Please write into the Discord about why you didn't go. I mean, no shame, no shade. Just wanted to understand why it is it might be holding you back. So we can maybe talk about that sometime. All right, Jamie. I talk a lot on the show, maybe too much. So do you want to go through this roster?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to show any mutant bias, but I'll give it a go.
Okay. I just wanted to say to the folks, we're going to go through this roster, and Patrick will tell us about his experiences with it, but it'll also be more of a jumping off point for changes or other thoughts that you have. So it's not just the roster necessarily, Patrick, that we want to hear about, but use it as your baseline. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Over to you, Jamie.
You've done these podcasts once or twice.
He's the podfather. Get out of here, Jamie. How dare you? How dare you?
Okay, cool. So let's just go through the characters first. So these are the characters you took. So we have the Blob. Didn't realize he had a "the" in his name. Sorry.
Yeah,
Blob
he's
more respect.
He's like a surgeon in the UK. It's Mr. Blob.
It's the Blob, yeah. So we have the Blob, Toad, Psylocke, Magik, Iceman, Wolverine, Beast, Colossus, Deadpool, and the big man himself. And Zabarnur, Apocalypse. So yeah, anything you want to talk about here, or should we jump to Horseman? Because that might help.
Yeah, maybe we can do the Horseman, because it'll be interesting to see which of these characters belong into which category of Horseman.
Yes. So obviously we have Death, Famine, Pestilence, and War. Pat, should we start with Death? Who are your Death contenders?
So the one who I will play most as Death is Toad, because he synergizes great as Death. Mm-hmm. Basically because he is a model your opponent wants to daze and KO, so that gives you points. And also he is a model that can get power, but is not very good at turning power into damage. So Death gives him a way to actually be a threat and be a little assassin, hopping in and licking people for 7 dice. Pretty cool.
Nice. You still play Toad as Toad, so you still grab an extract round 1 with him as you normally would.
Play him normally early game for sure, but the difference is, like Toad's play pattern is he grabs an extract and then what? Right? Goes and sits on secure maybe. But what will sometimes happen is people will try and kill him, and that's when Death matters, right? Mm-hmm. Because he'll generate you tokens, or he'll take damage and then be in a position where he's powered up and can actually retaliate, which is not something a toad can normally do. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. It means he can actually sometimes win duels against other characters, which normally is just off the table for him.
Great. Cool.
Yeah. All the other models that can be Death are Wolverine, Psylocke, and Iceman. And I will only play them as Death if I'm not playing Toad. And that might be at a higher threat level. If I want to go, I'm only ever going 5 wide. Maybe at 20 threats, I do like Apocalypse, 2 3s, 2 4s, and I just want to fight. Then someone else gets to be Death. Now, don't get me wrong, they're all fantastic as Death. Psylocke and Wolverine especially are excellent. It's just that Toad really wants to be Death, and the others can be other things. Mm-hmm. So I'd say Toad is Death 90% of the time. And when I don't play Toad, someone else gets the job. Okay.
So we should briefly mention Death's ability. So the ability of like the killing side of it is you pay 3 of power or apocalypse tokens to add 1 die to the attack roll for each wound the target character has, up to 3. So you're I'm assuming you sort of beat someone up, and then usually Toad will kind of hop in and then get a quick kind of finishing blow on them, because they need to have some damage on them for this to work.
Exactly. And what Toad can do late game is he can just move, hop, and range 3 and like try and snipe people, right? Yeah. You can become a little assassin and try and hunt people who are on low health.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Pretty cool. It's also a good ability on Apocalypse. They're all good on Apocalypse. They're all situational, but it definitely gets used on Apocalypse from time to time.
Nice. Okay. That's quick side note. So are you always playing every Horseman?
If possible, I am. I think so. I like to play all the Horsemen, and it's very doable with the new crises, because you're basically never playing less than 17 threat. And 17 threat can get you Apocalypse, 3 3s, and a 2. Okay. And that's a good team. The reason I have 5 3 threats in this roster, I've got Blob, Magik, Iceman, Beast, and Deadpool, is because 17 threat in the new crises comes up a lot. And it's really nice to play that 3-3-3-2 roster and choose the 3 threats that you actually want for your opponent and for the crisis. And you have a lot of customization with 5 options and also the Horseman abilities. So you can really tailor your roster to actually deal with what's in front of you, rather than feeling pigeonholed into having to take exactly the same models in every game.
Okay. So in terms of what's in front of you then, what are your kind of big, what are the biggest pivots there?
So you've basically got, for the 3 threats in particular, you've got Beast as your Pestilence. And I use that to talk about Pestilence in a second. He's basically, you want your Pestilence model, in my opinion, you want them to be fast and you want them to be tough, so that you can maximize their ability to chase down groups of people and fart on them. Right? Mm-hmm. And once you put the conditions on them, they will retaliate against you. It's very difficult, practically speaking, to be mobile enough to get in, put your AoE in the perfect spot, and get out. And for that to feel like a really good activation. Like, it can happen, but it doesn't happen that much. So it's helpful if your model is very mobile and tough.
Okay.
Beast ticks that box for 3 threats. Colossus is that for the 4 threat. Mm-hmm. It's the reason I don't choose Toad in that role. He's mobile, but he's not that tough. Like, he could be a pestilence, but I'd rather he was death because he's not as good a pestilence. And Blob can be pestilence. He is tough, but he's not that mobile. So usually I'm playing Beast or Colossus in basically every game, unless something weird has happened where I could play one of the other two as a backup, as pestilence.
Okay.
And then for the other three threats, they just have a lot more flexibility. Like Deadpool and Magik have the exact same horsemen. They can both be war, they can both be famine.
Okay.
And there I'm just picking what kind of model do I think will match up better into my opponent.
Okay. So you're thinking like Mystic attacker.
It's basically Mystic or not, right?
Sure.
Because fundamentally, they're pretty similar characters.
Yeah.
Right? They both have teleport effects. They both chop things up and don't do much else. And then the question is, do you want Mystic or physical? I think pound for pound, Deadpool is a better model, but Magik has an excellent tactics card.
Journey through Limbo?
Yeah. And you do kind of struggle with the 5th tactics card in this roster. You have 4 good ones, and then all the rest are a bit naff.
Okay.
So being able to upgrade to Journey for Limbo is significant.
And I guess Magik with the famine place ability as well, it gives her opportunities to generate power a bit more than she normally would.
Yeah, well, both Magik and Deadpool can teleport in, double attack, teleport out sometimes.
Yeah.
Or they can just hop, skip, and jump across the table, right? With like lots of moves and places, which is really cool. I will often actually just play both of them, one as famine, one as war.
Okay.
And just have both these two kind of similar models doing hit and run style stuff and surgically going where they need to go. And then the other 2-3 threats are a bit more specialized. So I mentioned already the Blob is not a great pestilence, but he's a really good famine because he's really tough. People don't want to deal with him. And as soon as you make him fast with famine's teleport, then he's a real problem piece. He's also the best model for walking into the midline and picking stuff up at 3 threat in the affiliation because people just don't want to handle him. And you don't have any true centerline steals, right? You've got Toad, but you don't have any way to steal things and run away. So having a cheap model that you can just activate first and pick something up in the middle of the table is really relevant. And then, of course, when he's famine, he'll do that. He won't be near anyone. He'll generate a token, and that can set you up for other strong things to do later on in round 1. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, I like him a lot as famine. And Iceman, I also like as famine. To me, Iceman is doing basically the same things as Deadpool and Magik. He's less good at doing damage, but of course he's got slows coming out of every orifice, right? And so he is really good. I like him more into teams where I think the slow is really going to matter, right? So if I'm playing against faster teams on Rider Crisis, I will rather have Iceman than Deadpool or Magik, but maybe I'll still take 2 of them, right? Like against webs, maybe I have Iceman as famine and Magik as war.
Yeah. Because you want that Mystic into webs and you like slowing webs. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't feel like Deadpool's physical attacks are going to be that special.
Yeah. This is great, by the way. This is exactly what I was hoping you would bring to this episode, which is like Apocalypse is so complicated. There's so many dimensions to it. And I feel like you've just laid that out really simply for me. So famine here, you basically make a choice of, do I go with Mystic Magik, Slow Iceman, or Deadpool, who's just good?
Yes.
That's like nice, yeah.
Yeah, or Blob, if I want Blob. And of course, it gets tricky because you might want different ones for different reasons, and then you can't have them all. And only one of them can be famine, right? And being famine is freaking great, let me tell you. It's kind of like, maybe I would just accept them all being famine if I couldn't take any other horseman. But you sometimes have to make that concession about, okay, if I really think I need Blob, I kind of need him to be famine. Therefore, I'm not taking both Magik and Deadpool. Who do I want instead? And maybe I'm not taking Iceman. And you have to weigh it up. So it is complex. But yeah, happy to help.
Patrick, the famine is the one where you get to place yourself within 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it good to put it on Magik or Iceman or Deadpool who have their own movement tricks?
It's just really good because
Psylocke.
it lets you hit and run, right? So you can move in, attack, and move away, and stay safe. And second thing is it lets you play very wide crises and really abuse that mobility. Basically, I just don't think even 2 teleports doesn't feel like a waste. I often will find if Deadpool has the power, he will leg day and famine and then double attack. And it's the same for Magik. It's just basically the teleport is just so good that although in theory you might think, well, all I want to do is get in and attack and I won't need to get out. But actually, having that extra mobility pays off big time.
Yeah, and I've seen Iceman as Famine before as well, and he's amazing. It's like a little baby Crimson Dynamo, because he can place, get to it exactly where he wants to be, and then hit and run and get out of danger and do like some perfect beams, which is pretty great.
I'll give you an example. In the last game I played at Belgian Masters in the finals, I was playing against A-Force on Infinity Formula, and he was on the right hand, my near right hand Infinity Formula, and he advanced towards the left, still very far away from it, did freeze and fade to slow She-Hulk and Captain Marvel, move again towards the formula, and then use the 2 power he got from the beam to then place himself and be on the left-hand formula. So he traveled across the whole table and slowed 2 models.
Great.
In a situation where they then can't chase him, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of excessive mobility. Then this is what Apocalypse is all about, really. Between him, Apocalypse himself, and one of his models having the extra places, and then Apocalypse having celestial technology, you just have huge mobility where you can literally completely outmaneuver your opponent in ways that most MCP teams can't. And then you compound that with Pestilence, slowing them on top of that. So you make your opponent slower, you move really fast, and you can literally run rings around people.
Yeah. And this was the big kind of light bulb moment that I feel like the community had with Apocalypse. Because I got Apocalypse like the day after he was revealed. I was printing that card out and I was like, cool, I've finally got a way to play mutants on Demons and Gamma. And it did not go well. It was awful. I hit a brick wall, and this is, well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think this is an E Street team at all. Not that E Street exists anymore, but this is not a down the middle fighty team, right?
No, absolutely not. You don't have many good tools for fighting down the middle, and the models in general are not that resilient. I've picked all of the toughest models in the team, and that is like Blob, Wolverine, and Colossus. They're not that tough, right? Colossus is tough. The rest are like medium survivability, maybe. Blob is medium plus. So yeah, the way it is a team that fights. It's definitely a true mid-range team in that it wants to fight as well as score. But the main way that it fights well is by outmaneuvering and picking on people. And usually it wins attrition games by being able to ignore one or more enemy models because it's literally running away from them or outmaneuvering them while it's impeding them with special conditions.
Yeah, great.
All right, so we've talked about death, which the characters that could be death are Toad, Psylocke, Iceman, and Wolverine. We've talked about Famine, which is the movement ability. That's the Blob, Psylocke, Magik, Iceman, and Deadpool. So we talked about Pestilence a little bit, actually. So the Blob, Toad, Beast, and Colossus are on there. Any other points you want to make about Pestilence, Pat?
Just to repeat what I said before, which is really it's Beast or Colossus. And I'm happy to play one of Beast or Colossus in every game. They're both amazing in this roster. Pestilence is such a strong ability that it's fantastic.
And I hear that a lot of people are not afraid to use the Pestilence ability on Apocalypse as well.
Yeah, for me, it comes up the least often of the 3. Although one thing I've noticed about my gameplay in general is I don't use even though I've just told you it's amazing and I want it in every game, I don't use the Pestilence effect as much as some Apocalypse players tell me they use it.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's some exaggeration there or if I'm a bit too cautious. But I find that sometimes, especially early game, you have to make choices between scenario play and putting out conditions. And it's not always obvious that conditions are the right thing to put out straight away. Like, I might rather spend the power to go and pick up an extract with Beast or Colossus than to use these special conditions from Pestilence. It's hard to say, but I guess that when it works, it's sensational. You do want to have it as part of your game plan, but it is challenging against a good opponent to always get it to do what you want. And then you got War, and War is really good, but not that important because it's just kind of like good stuff. The other ones all kind of change a bit how you play. Right? Even Death changes in the sense it changes your target prioritization to be injured characters.
Yeah.
And it makes that character that is Death feel more expendable. But War doesn't really change how you play at all. It's like you get benefits from attacking and being attacked, and your attacks are better. Cool. It makes you get within range 2, I guess. But that's about it. So War is good, but it's just kind of like generic good stuff. And I'm happy to basically put it on anybody that can take it. because they're all models that want to attack or be attacked. It is slightly better on tougher models, but it's not that big a deal. So
Yeah,
I'm always taking war when I've got 4 horsemen, but to me it's the least important of the 3.
Okay.
And if I have to cut a horseman, it will usually be war.
Okay. So yeah,
That's so interesting because I got demolished more than once over the course of the 3 days by a war Wolverine. It was awful.
Yeah, Wolverine's great. And he's the reason I have Wolverine in this roster is he's my 4th threat that can be war. Because you want your good damage dealers to have the option of war. It's the reason I'm not playing Archangel, is he is a 4th threat damage dealer that can't be famine or war, which are the 2 that I kind of need that role to be the most. So I do like war, and it is good. It's just not, like, the others are kind of core to your game plan in a way that war isn't. War is just a nice bonus.
So who's your backup then if it's not a 4th threat Wolverine?
I like Magik and Deadpool a lot as war.
Yeah.
And so it's usually between those 3. Beast and Colossus can be, but because they're my premium Pestilence choices, it's very rare that they get the war slot. Although actually they are both really good at it because they're tougher. Like Colossus has great synergy with war, because war, you generate tokens once a turn for attacking or being attacked, right, and taking damage. And of course, Colossus has his taunt ability, and he's got damage reduction, so he's very often taking damage of increments of 1, and he can just create a situation where he is just churning out tokens. And the extra damage that Fury, the war superpower, gives you is really relevant even for like a 5 dice builder. It's relevant because you have the synergy with the rerolls from Apocalypse's evolution tokens. So anyone can be a threat with it. So yeah, so I've had situations where I've wanted to play Beast and Colossus in the same team, so one of them is war. But usually that doesn't come up.
Can you
That's
remind us
interesting.
how many of evolution tokens can be on the card at once?
It starts with 1 in the power phase. You can go up to 6 by jumping through all the hoops.
6, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jamie.
No, that's interesting. Looking at this roster, before hearing you talk, I would have assumed Colossus was your war because of that taunt ability. So that's interesting to hear that he's primarily Pestilence.
Yeah, another way to think about this, if it helps, and the reason I don't have any 5 threat characters, is think about what I said, right? The minimum threat you really ever need to play now is 17. And just in case it's not obvious why, there's only 2 16 threat crisis in the game now. There's nothing below. They're both secures, right? They're not in my roster. So if I win priority, I pick my secures, I'm paying pay to flips, that's great. We can't play lower than 17 threat. And if I lose priority, I've got my extracts, we can't play lower than 17 threat. So I never have to plan for 16 threat. And if, as I said, my 17 threat is 3 3s and a 2, and Apocalypse. And then you have 18, 19, 20 threats. I can upgrade these 3s. Beast can become Colossus. Deadpool can become Wolverine. Magik can become Psylocke. Right? They're like similar idea characters.
Oh my
just slightly
god,
more powerful.
that makes so much sense.
Right? That's quite a simple way of thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you can do way more mental gymnastics than that, and it's not always that simple.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the core. It's like, those are the characters that do the good stuff and make it work. Those are their upgrades. And then everyone else is like a niche piece that can come in or out, depending on what you need to do.
So basically, you're just looking at a 3 option for a horseman and a 4 option for a horseman.
Yeah, and then some extra spicy options for when you think you need a different tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
But you've got your fast, tough pestilence, you've got your brawling war, you've got your hit and run assassin famine, and then you've got good old Toad, the horseman of death.
Where does Psylocke fit in? You haven't mentioned her.
Yeah, she's the upgrade to Magik. She's the mobile mystic attacking assassin. That's the 4th threat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then it's what? Deadpool and Wolverine form a pair?
Yeah, for example.
Yeah.
And Colossus and Beast.
Colossus and Beast. And Iceman, who does he pair up with?
Well, that's when Iceman and Blob are kind of like your sideboard, right? They're your options that come in when you don't want to follow game plan number 1 and you think you need a specific tool for a specific job. And then you would, you'd figure out. Maybe, for example, you say, I want my team to be as tough as possible. I used to do this when things like Gamma and Demon's still around, right? And I'd say, okay, my toughest possible team is Colossus, Wolverine, Blob. I have And that's a 19 threat team with Toad and Apocalypse, which was a really common brawling threat, right? It was demons, legacy virus, intrusions. And I'm just playing all of my toughest models. And then I have to make it work. So Colossus is Pestilence, Wolverine is War, Blob is Famine. Fantastic. Works great. Mm-hmm. So you just bring in those extra models when you want what they do and you want to skew your team in a certain direction.
All right. Perfect.
These are the takes that we're missing, Norbert. You've managed to make the most complicated team I've ever seen MCP sound so straightforward, Pat. It's so clear to me now what the
really
game plan
easy
is.
in theory, and then you get to it in practice, and you're like, I don't want that combination of characters in this game. What do I do?
You're just you're just staring at Blob on the side, like, I just want to bring Blob. What do I have to concede to bring Blob?
Exactly.
What about then Apocalypse? How do you use him when it comes to the horseman abilities?
So Apocalypse as a character, like most of his power comes from his 2 attacks, which are both sensationally strong. Okay, he is a character who uses his builder more than almost any other character in the game. And most of the horseman powers exist to make his builder better. Like, he will place with Famine so that he can double attack with his builder. If he is at range 3, he will double attack with his builder and use Death quite often. If he's at range 2, he will double attack with his builder and use War because it does more damage than Death. But it's only range 2. Mm-hmm. And that's often his like very simple play pattern. How can I get the most damage out of Apocalypse? And then, of course, if your target has some conditions on them and you're in range 2, maybe you Spender instead of Buildering.
He can only use 1 horseman ability per activation?
Yes. So you have to pick which one it's going to be. Yeah. And I just gave an example of all 3 of those and how they can be relevant in the right circumstance. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, if I'm choosing between those 3 abilities, I will make a normal attack first, see how it goes, and then decide how am I going to use that second, how am I going to spice up my second ability? Can I get away without using Death or War so I can use Famine to reposition after I've double attacked? Or do I need to double down on one of them? Or indeed, am I going to Spender? But he's really a piece that is all about getting value from his attacks first. And he, along with models like Wolverine, Deadpool, Psylocke, and Magik, is a very mobile assassin. He's the main reason why I said his team does want to be fighting, but also tends to win the fight by outmaneuvering people. Because he can go all over the table and target the models who are most vulnerable. And his builder does that really well because you can pick any attack type. And on paper, any attack type sounds like a nice perk. It's like, that's fine. But when this model is in all of your games and can go anywhere on the table, it suddenly becomes really strong. Because what it means is if your opponent has a model that's vulnerable to a certain thing, you can exploit it, right? Their models are really weak and you can pick on them. And it makes models like Captain America, for example, stack up really poorly into Apocalypse because there's always a hard counter to him on your side of the table. Mm-hmm. So I really like Apocalypse as just another mobile assassin. And to that end, I don't use Pestilence much, but sometimes Pestilence comes up and sometimes it's great, right? Sometimes you're like, okay, I'll do my first attack. Oh, I've killed someone. My second attack, I don't have any great targets. I'll do some damage into someone, whatever, and then I'll Pestilence into a bunch of people, and that's cool. Sometimes you do end up doing things like double moving and Pestilencing or traveling all the way across the table with Famine. Like, you can do unconventional stuff. And you can have really satisfying games. Like, I remember one of my games in the invitationals for Belgian Masters. In the first 4 rounds of the game, I used a different power in every single round. And it's just nice to have that flexibility.
Yeah.
You said he's a mobile assassin. Aside from the Famine hop, are you using celestial technology where he gets to place within one of himself very much?
He can't place within one of himself. He can only place his allies. But the reason I say he's mobile is because he's got that big base, and it's because his range 3 on his builder. So the hop plus his base plus his builder is actually quite a long threat. But also, it's just his play pattern. So on round 1, I will almost always just deploy him in the middle of the table. And then I will try to activate him towards the end of the round with at least 1 evolution token in my stash. Bear in mind, you start with 1, so you can kind of guarantee it. But you'd rather use other powers in between if you can. But anyway, you activate near the end of the round with one evolution token and his one power, and that gives you enough to famine hop. And with his enormous base, his medium move plus a famine hop, plus range 3, there's basically no escaping him.
Right.
So he can basically get to anywhere on the table, contest any secure, more or less, or at least be really close to it, and make a big 7 dice attack into somebody. And that's what I mean, is he doesn't want to be using that to charge into the whole enemy team. He wants to be thinking about who can I pick on who's a bit exposed, who's on their own in an isolated position. I'll go pounce them and attack them. And ideally, I'll activate against a wide team that might run away from that plan. I'll activate the priority, double attack them and kill them. Right? And if I get really lucky, my first attack will daze them in round 1 and then I'll KO them in round 2. But that's not very likely, right? That's just great if it works. But that's why he's a mobile assassin, is because of his ability to, on round 1, go anywhere and start the work. And then afterwards he teleports around. And to your question about celestial technology, it is really important because it's one of the things that lets you outmaneuver the opposing team and lets you outplay other attrition teams to get that kind of edge in the fight. Because it lets you just reposition everyone else to be near Apocalypse. So you can deny flanks really hard. You can have people escape from bad situations.
What does denying a flank mean?
What I mean is, in a normal game, you might have models spread across the table fighting over different parts, right? And then at some point, you can have Apocalypse pull people fighting on one side of the table completely to another part of the table, and all the models they were fighting now don't have very much to do. Right? It works better on spread out secures, but it can mean that you basically, rather than having like a 2-on-2 fight on the left, a 2-on-2 fight on the right, and one-on-one fight in the middle. Yeah, this is a very abstract, just to get the point across. Apocalypse then pulls the 2 people on the right over to his side, and suddenly it's 5 versus 3, and the 2 enemy models that were there don't have very good activations that round. And through that, the opposing team falls behind on attrition. Because now all of your models are in a position where they can fight and do relevant things, but your opponent has to have 2 models to spend their time like chasing after the Apocalypse team.
So you mentioned that you deploy him typically in the middle. Do you find that he is his own like flank, or and everybody else is elsewhere, or does he have buddies that stay with him typically?
It really depends a lot. You could do, because he wants to be quite opportunistic about where is a good target for him. I want to put him in a place where he can fight someone he can kill, and he is not exposed to too much danger, because he's not that tough. And I don't want him facing down a lot of hard-hitting enemies. So ideally, I want him not to bite off more than he can chew. But then, where his friends are isn't critical because of celestial technology. He can always bring people to him. So I'm usually thinking much more about where the opponent is, and then positioning my team around him later on with celestial technology if I have to.
All right, sorry. Say that once more. Sorry.
So because the celestial technology, I can pull my team to him.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry too much early game about where the team are, my own team is in relation to Apocalypse.
Okay.
Because later on, Apocalypse can bring them. I just have to make sure that a few relevant models are within 5. And it needs to be models that don't have extracts, ideally. So
right. So so he's trying to pick off people. Your other folks are trying to either take a point or pull some extracts off. And that's the early game. But then, like mid to late game is when you start getting more judicious about where where the allies are located, because you can pull them to him or not.
Yeah, and mid to late game is when you make that decision about, do I now need to use my mobility to collapse to one side of the table and deny some of my opponent's models good activations, right? Like, if my opponent has a side of the table with powerful models that aren't holding extracts, maybe I just run away from them and I take my whole team to the side that matters, right? And so you'll have models like Toad doing a good job here, taking an extract in a danger zone, surviving, or indeed generating me tokens with death if he doesn't, and then eventually like running away, so that later on all my other models that are on that part of the table can just evacuate because the extracts have already gone.
Great. Should we talk about the crises now, since we're kind of been talking about board state and everything?
Before we move on, sorry, I
Yeah.
think we should. There's a big question mark here over the leadership. So where do you find yourself spending those tokens? Because I've seen people saving them all up for an apocalypse turn, and they'll use a bunch of rerolls for apocalypse, and then I've seen other people kind of spread it across the horsemen. Where are you spending those tokens?
So there's no easy heuristic for this. It is something you have to figure out, and it is skill taxing for sure. Like, you have to, because there's so much opportunity cost. You can use the tokens on basically every attack and defense roll, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have some idea of how important is this roll for you. And obviously, the more important it is, the more you're willing to use the tokens, regardless of what it is, right? And I really think of it as being like an insurance policy. Because everyone can access them, it's very much about which things are the most important things that are going to happen this round. Let's make sure I save some tokens for that thing.
Interesting. Okay.
And then the other thing I'll do is I'll use the tokens to create situations that will generate tokens. So, for example, spending 3 tokens to use created to end on Toad so that he gets a daze and gives me 3 tokens back. Spending a token and a power on Colossus to fart on 3 people so I then get 3 tokens back. Using the tokens to generate tokens, and then after that, just having to have an idea about what are the most important things to do.
Okay. So you're pretty character agnostic then on who gets to use the tokens. You're sort of just looking at the crisis and the situation.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that certain characters benefit slightly more from rerolls, like Wolverine if he's doing his charge with wilds. But really, like, anyone that's war benefits, anyone with good triggers benefits. The truth is, when you need them. And if it didn't matter as much if Wolverine was kicking ass on that side of the table, I mean, great that you got 3 wilds and overkilled that person, but it's not that important, right?
Okay, that's interesting. And then so you mentioned in round 1, obviously it's vital that you have 1 token so that Apocalypse can famine hop. Is there is that like a minimum amount you always make sure is available for Apocalypse?
So in round 1, generally, death is basically never going to get you tokens unless something crazy happens. War is unlikely to get you tokens. Now, Magik and Deadpool have range 4 attacks, so maybe they can advance medium and make a range 4 attack, but your opponent really has to be very generous to let that happen.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't count on it. Famine is very likely to get you 1. So Famine is often your first activation. He gives you a token, he or she give you a token if they end their activation outside of range 3 of an opponent. So having Famine do a very safe round 1 early on of just pick up an extract and be far away from the opponent is fine. That gives you 1. And then with Pestilence, it's really nice if you can double move Beast or Colossus to a point where they can put conditions on multiple people and generate tokens. But once again, your opponent really has to be quite accommodating for that to work well. So fantastic if it works, but not something you can count on necessarily. Yeah. Famine is really the only one you can count on. And even that won't happen every time.
Okay. So in terms of like having tokens available for Apocalypse, it only really matters round 1 and then you just start spending his power for later rounds?
But yeah, Apocalypse is incredible at generating power because his builder is so good. And he doesn't really have many ways to use his power. So it's very rare that he'll be spending tokens instead of power. He's much more likely to be using them for rerolls.
Okay. That's good. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Norbert. Let's go on to the crises.
No, good questions. I just want to keep an eye on the time, make sure we get through it all. So, go for it then. What did Patrick choose?
So first off, this one came to mind as soon as you just mentioned your Beast or Colossus double moving and then Pestilence bombing. Mutant Madman. Which is B shape, so you can double move onto an opponent's back secure and do that. It's pretty cool. Guardian Save, Shi'ar Empress in Style, which is one of the new crises, and Macran Crystal, which is another new crisis. 2 new secures in there. Let's go through the secures first, because it feels like these are quite important for Apocalypse with the whole flank switching stuff you've been talking about.
Yeah, so these are all pay to flips. So this is Mutant Madman is obviously the old pay to flip, the B map. Macran is the new sword-based replacement, and Guardians is the one in between the two in terms of like the map. They're all like square or rectangle pay to flips at 4 points. Trying out pay to flips, a lot of people swear by pay to flips for Apocalypse. I don't know if this is the best way to go. They were certainly good, They have pros and cons. So the reason why pay to flips are good for Apocalypse is because with Pestilence, his team puts a lot of stress on the opposing team's power economy, and it can start to get really difficult to have enough power to do well on pay to flips in later rounds. And it's like he has nothing special really on round 1 pay to flip. But in later rounds, his team can put a lot of pressure on because they're very mobile and they're making your power economy stretched. And bear in mind, it's not just Pestilence, it's also Famine can reduce your power. Deadpool can reduce your power. So you can create teams with a lot of power reduction. And that can make it really hard to be chasing after the Apocalypse team and also flipping the points.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
I can
theory.
imagine. Yeah, I can imagine a combo of dishing out slows and Deadpool Famine is draining a power, and then Merc with a mouth is draining power. That's the perfect storm for denying pay to flips.
Yeah, and like imagine a situation where, and this is the dream, right? Imagine a situation where you're playing Mutant Madman. It's near the end of the round. You've got 2 of your models on your home Mutant Madman. It's a pretty normal way to end the round, right? Mm-hmm. Beast double moves up and stands on the Mutant Madman point and poisons both of your models. And then in the following round, Beast activates, roots both your models, flips the point and double moves away. None of your models have any power.
Yeah.
Maybe he slows them. In any case, none of the models have any power. They've got no one to generate attacks against because Beast run away and he's flipped the point from under you.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nightmare, right? So that's the appeal of pay to flips with Apocalypse, is those kind of best case scenarios, but they don't really come up very much. And the downside of pay to flips, and the reason I don't think you have to take pay to flips necessarily, is it limits your ability to outmaneuver your opponent while also scoring more points than them. Because if you run away from a model on a pay to flip, they flip it and then they chase after you.
Yeah.
So that's the downside. So I guess basically what I'm saying is Apocalypse is good on any secure because of the combination of these things. And it's up to you to decide, do you want to play pay to flips or not? The pay to flips worked well, but I think next time around, I'll try some of the other ones.
Yeah. And the width of the scenario doesn't seem to be a problem either. They could be narrower or wider.
Yeah, I don't mind the more tightly packed Macran crystals because it still rewards mobility, even if it's not far apart. I mean, that's a situation where like double teleport with Deadpool and Magik is really good, right? Because you're in a position where you can maneuver, double attack, and place near a pay to flip and flip it. And because Apocalypse does do his fair share of fighting, like I've found that kind of crisis has worked really well for him too.
All right.
Cool. All right. So that's secures. And then extracts, you have scrolls, scientific samples, and unexpected guests. Anything you want to shout out about here?
Yeah, so these all are 4 points. I think, I don't know, Apocalypse has a lot of strong thoughts about what secures he wants, and they're basically all good. The extracts, much less exciting for Apocalypse.
Yeah.
You've got Toad, who's a good extract player. But you know what? Every team has Toad. Like having Toad is not special, right?
Toad is the most employed character in MCP.
Yeah,
Toad,
exactly.
Yeah.
It lets you compete at an even footing, but it's not some sort of secret tech that puts you over the top, right? Mm-hmm. And on top of that, Apocalypse himself would rather his round 1 was spent hunting down somebody and killing them. He doesn't really want to go out of his way to get an extract. And he doesn't necessarily want to tax his power economy to pick one up, because then you're having to eat into the evolution tokens that you may or may not generate if you also want to famine hop in round 1. Similar with Pestilence. Pestilence can pick one up, but if Pestilence doesn't pick up an extract, well, 1 evolution token and 1 power that you start turn 1 with is enough to use your ability, get the tokens back, then Apocalypse can use his ability, everyone's happy, right? So you've got 2 of your 5 models don't really want to be picking up extracts if they can help it. And so oftentimes, I only really want to be picking up 2 extracts, 1 with Toad, 1 with Famine. Famine goes early in the round, picks up a safe extract, and spends the rest of the game staying at arm's length with teleports. Toad is Toad. Great. The other models don't really want them. And Apocalypse will get one later when he kills someone and picks it up. So I'm quite happy with there only being 4 points and all of them being quite safe and ordinary. If that makes sense. Like, I'm not doing anything special with the extracts. I'm just trying to play a normal, fair game and not make them a huge part of my game plan.
Okay. And also, 4 points buys you a little bit of time on the game as well to start punching stuff, right?
Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning, I'm paying pay to flips. So when my opponent wins priority, 100% of the time they pick their secures.
Yeah.
Right? Unless they're X-Men. And because of that, it's really relevant when you know that your opponent is going to be picking secures on you. It's really relevant that your extracts that you only play when you don't have priority are even points, right? Mm-hmm. Safe ones means I'm 2-2 on extracts, and I can try and outplay my opponent on their secure, which Apocalypse is really well suited to do.
Mm-hmm. Great, cool. Okay, so we should go over the tactics cards then. Yeah, if you want to do a cheeky scroll up, but thank you. Okay, so I'll just list these out. So Sacrifice and Brace as your restricteds. Makes sense.
Yeah, but it's worth mentioning Brace is really important because Apocalypse is size 4, and people throwing Apocalypse into your team is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I think Sacrifice could be anything else. I like Sacrifice because I'm playing Blob and Colossus, and having those tough models is good, and the cute synergy of like sacrificing into Blob and bouncing people away is a thing. Yeah. But Fallback would be good here. Indomitable would be good here as another way to stop Apocalypse being thrown.
Yeah. And Apocalypse has that power, available to him to just do an Indomitable and not worry about it too much.
Yeah, easily.
Okay, we have, let's go through these one by one because I think some of these might need some explaining. So the first one.
This is the card where Apocalypse spends 4 power, KOs one of your own models, and removes his activated token. This card is not an every game card. You can play it in every game, but I wouldn't recommend it. Oh. I think in general, if you don't have a specific plan for this, it's going to sit unused, or you're going to play it and regret it some of the time. The reason I like this card is the same reason so basically another reason I'm paying pay to flips is Toad in this card. Toad is a good model on pay to flips, and I'm playing Toad in every game. And this card is really good on pay to flips because having the last activation with a large base medium mover who can teleport can let you flip like every point on the table.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I'm happy to play Macron Crystals, where Apocalypse can legitimately move it between all of them and flip all 4 points.
Wow.
So this is a really powerful threat to basically set, like, you can basically play this round 3 or round 4 when the game is in the balance, and you can just do some quick math and be like, oh, hold on. If I just wait to the end of the round, bear in mind, can't be Apocalypse activating at the end of the round because you can't, that won't work. It needs to be a different model for rules reasons. Yep. But if I just wait to the end of the round, I finish my Deadpool activation and I play this card, my opponent can't interact and Apocalypse will just move and flip and move and flip and move and flip and move and flip and I win.
Yeah.
Right. I'll do that.
Wow. Yeah,
so when amazing, you play it, it feels like pay for power in the game and you do not care that one of your models is KO'd.
Yeah. That's interesting. So yeah, and it's always Toad, is it?
Not always, because of the fact that I'm playing it usually to win the game. So it's whoever isn't holding an extract, and that often isn't Toad.
Yeah, okay, yeah, nice. Yeah. So it's just whoever will do to get the job done.
Yeah, exactly.
Which feels very apocalypsy, so I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we should also mention Immortal Servants here.
Immortal Servants is an every game card. It's just really versatile and useful. Yeah. Being able to heal people in the area is great. It has synergy with Celestial technology, as you guys pointed out in the last episode about Apocalypse. I like playing the tougher characters. It works really well with them. And then having a second Recalibration Matrix option is great. Apocalypse is the perfect character for Recalibration Matrix because he's got huge dice pools. Yeah. And his survivability with the healing, like sometimes just saving 1 point of damage can make all the difference, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm a big fan.
Great. Is it actively or reactively?
Whatever the situation demands. Like when you use it reactively, your hand is forced, right? But I will happily use it actively. And if you can create situations where you're healing Apocalypse plus one other model, I'm happy to do that. Like I think healing 4 for 3 power is really good value.
Yeah, that's cool. I like the idea of, you also healing Colossus, who's a character that's hard to hurt. Yes. You could be healing Wolverine, Deadpool, who then activate and get healing factor as well. That's going to feel awful. For your
yes, it can really add up. Like Wolverine has 7 stamina, right? It's a lot to get through.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Toad, chipping damage off of Toad, if he can get healed again and, it increases his chance of getting a slippery off, that's huge as well.
And you know what? Slippery synergizes with it, right? I've had games where Toad has slipperied away from danger to get in range of Apocalypse and he's then healed him.
Yeah, oh God.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a great card.
Yeah, nice. Toad is shining in this list. It's great.
He is the MVP.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Cool. Okay, before we list the rest of them, I need to point out this card. You've got Leapfrog. The team-up card, the best team-up card in the game. Toad and Blob.
Yeah, I've got 2 very cute team-up cards in this roster, and there's more that can be had, right? You can even have like Psylocke and Archangel and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So look, Leapfrog is not the greatest card. The problem with this roster's cards is I'm happy to play Immortal Servants and Recalibration Matrix and my 2 restricted cards in every game, but then I don't have a 5th good card that I would want in like every situation.
Yeah.
So I tried out Leapfrog as one of the options. It's fine. I'm not in love with it. It's totally reasonable, but I think the challenge really for me is I don't play Blob that much. But actually, the bigger problem is I'm also playing Warpath, and Warpath is so good with Blob. This is like Blob's second affiliated card in the roster. And so that's why I haven't played it very much.
Yeah, so Warpath lets you, if Blob is attacked from any range, right? It works at range 5, I believe. You can Warpath and then be within range to do the haha, that tickles and push them back.
Yes, because the haha, that tickles is range 3. And a short move plus Bob space will get you within range 3 from any attack range. Absolutely.
Range. Yeah, pretty fun.
Yeah, it's also good with Colossus. It's, to be honest, it's situationally useful with everyone, right? I've had it on Apocalypse just to move back onto a point when he was thrown off.
Yeah. Warpath is one of those cards where when they restricted fullback, everyone was like, well, this is probably the next best card that's not restricted. So suddenly everyone plays Warpath and it's just very good and useful.
Yes. And in this roster, there's a couple of models that synergize well, and also they don't have a 5th good card, so it gets played.
Yeah. Nice. I do want to mention actually on Leapfrog, the joke of that when it came out was part of the card's trigger is Toad attacking, which made people laugh because Toad doesn't really attack. But in here, Toad's attacking. He's doing pretty good attacks too. Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah,
it's relevant.
Also, that card art is amazing. I've never actually seen that.
The card art is funny.
Cyclops getting his visor stolen. Yeah. Yeah, great. Cool. So then, other tactics cards. I mean, is there anything you want to shout out here? There's a lot of kind of, common cards.
There's just 2 other affiliated cards. I mentioned Recalibration Matrix, which we didn't talk about specifically, but that's a must-have card because Apocalypse synergizes with it so well, and it works so well for his plan. And then you've got Journey Through Limbo, which is your best card if you're playing Magic.
Yeah.
Right? It's better than all of the other, maybe picks, but you can only play it if you're playing Magic. Okay. Worth mentioning, Journey Through Limbo is really cute on Apocalypse, because it can move allies and it incinerates him. He's immune to incinerate. He gets to be healed instead. It's really cool.
Very nice. That's cool though. That's no joke. You're moving your big killer around. It's pretty great.
Like being able to escape your big guy that far and heal him is huge, right? And it's just another mobility tool in a team that has tons of great mobility.
Yeah. If there was a card that said move ally, place him 3 and heal him 1, people would play that every game, and that's essentially what this card's doing, but also has the added effect of you can incinerate an enemy and do the same to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth mentioning that basically all of my other cards are there to keep Apocalypse alive and relevant. And this is another way to sometimes do that, or that you can also use it for other nefarious purposes. Yeah. And then last but not least, Fastball Special. I have such a soft spot for this card.
Now, I want your thoughts here, Pat. We sort of dunk on team-up cards. Mm-hmm. We think team-up cards are always very fun, but usually not very good. This card's okay, right?
It is.
Better than fine.
It's good. It's good, but it's not without its problems. So obviously, problem 1, you have to play both these models, which is totally fine to do with this team, but only at higher threats. So it's not an every game card. Problem number 2, it's quite easy to use this in round 1. You can set it up quite well because Colossus can move to wherever he needs to move so that a Wolverine can then double move to be near Colossus, thrown medium, and that double move plus a medium throw is going to hit someone. That person is going to be holding an extract, won't have the power to brace, and you're going to do tons of damage. The problem with that plan is that's all of your power for those 2 models and your positioning. And so that's 2 of your 5 models forsaking their normal game plans and any kind of scenario interaction to use it on round 1.
Yeah.
So situationally, that's really good. practically speaking, it's not that good. And then the downside with it later is the team in general doesn't have a lot of throws. And therefore, your opponent sees this card and they just mentally earmark their brace for it. And then the two cards, just neither of them get played.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So it's not a bad card. Sometimes it's astonishing, but its best cases don't turn up that much.
All right. Makes sense.
Great. Okay. Any other tactics cards you want to shout out?
I quite like the Psylocke Archangel combo card. I think if you're playing Archangel, you can do that. Mm-hmm. I quite like the Psylocke card that lets you reroll any number of dice on an attack. It's really cool with Apocalypse and his big dice pools. And what's the other one I like? Oh yeah, I like Weapon X Program on Wolverine. Another throw. And I don't hate the idea of taking both Fastball Special and Weapon X Program.
For the reason of getting around brace that you just mentioned.
Exactly. To just kind of like overwhelm your opponent with nonsense throws.
Yeah, can't brace all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. One big glaring question I have here. Sabretooth, did he ever get in the run? I really enjoyed War Sabretooth.
He's next on my list. So, for me, there's some models that I play tons that I don't want to be cutting. There's other models that I think are less necessary. So, Iceman, less necessary. Blob, less necessary. At a push, you could convince me that Wolverine is less necessary. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, those models for me are interchangeable and they can be anything in the roster. Okay. I played Honey Badger. She's been really good. I quite like Cassandra Nova. I liked Archangel okay, but I found his Horseman abilities just weren't as convenient as Wolverine. Mm-hmm. But Sabretooth is next on my list. I think Sabretooth is interesting because he's obviously great as War. But as I mentioned, being great at War is like, it's not impressive. Everyone is great as War. He's interesting as Pestilence, which is his other Horseman, because he's a long mover. So he is fast. Is he tough enough? Well, he's about as tough as Beast, right? Approximately. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's good enough. And so, yeah, he's on my list to try. I haven't played any games with Sabretooth yet.
Okay. Cool. All right, great. Well, I mean, any kind of parting thoughts for people listening to this, wanting to try out Apocalypse? Any kind of, gems of wisdom you have at the end?
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot to think about with Apocalypse. You have a bunch of extra mini games that normal MCP players don't get to play, right? You have your team building mini game at the start where you have to make your jigsaw puzzle work and have all the horsemen fit. And then as you play the game, you get to play at the same time kind of like a resource management board game of shuffling all your different tokens between all your cards to try and maximize your efficiency. They're both fun games to play, but they're overwhelming. And you absolutely will be worse at playing the normal game of MCP while you're trying to focus on those two games. Mm-hmm. So I would firstly just come to terms with that and accept it's going to take some brain power and some time. And then I would recommend to start with, try and make it easy for yourself. Pick a few characters. I think you guys gave this great advice on the last episode as well. You said, give each character one horse, right?
One horse.
One
single horse.
One horsepower. Yeah. Make each character one horseman and don't worry about the other. Yeah. I think that's good advice to start with because it keeps things simpler. And if you can just start with, this is my core team, kind of like what I said, I'm always going to play Magik, Deadpool, Toad, Beast, for example, and then I'm just going to upgrade them. I don't have to worry about my jigsaw.
Yeah.
And then that removes part of the mental load, right? Yeah. I can teach myself slowly but surely to remember my evolution tokens. It's going to take a while, but maybe while I'm just remembering the triggers, I'm not going to try and maximize their efficiency. I'm just going to try and remember my triggers and just try and deal with all of the complexity piece by piece.
Yeah, I like that a lot because you're also learning, as if learning new characters, you're learning all the new horseman abilities. Yeah. So even if you're an experienced Deadpool and Magik player, you haven't played famine versions of those characters or war versions. So I think, keep them the same horseman at first and then graduate yourself onto, more kind of spicy choices.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you run, and one of the other hidden efficiency games you play with this team is you have a lot of different options for how you do the same thing. Like, I want to kill someone with Apocalypse. Should I give them a special condition and spend them? Or should I do war and build them? Or should I, you know what I mean? And Should I, with Deadpool, use Fury and Builder, or should I use my Spender? And you know what? I don't know the answer to those things. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but I would just try to think about what you can do and then just kind of pick one and don't have too much analysis paralysis about it.
Yeah. Just go for it and
and maybe learn through doing a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like the thing you actually need to learn with these guys is the kind of the rotation and the flank, switching and stuff, rather than the actual individual, like, oh, Fury works here and Death works here.
Yeah, that's really well said. People get hung up on the minutiae, but actually the important thing is kind of like the macro strategy of having your people in the right place and outmaneuvering your opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Cool. Okay, well, my final question, Pat. Apocalypse himself appears at the foot of your bed tonight and says, I've chosen you. I want you to become one of my horsemen. Which horseman are you becoming?
I'll be the horseman of war, please, because if I'm playing Apocalypse, that means I get to spend the most days at home on the bench.
The most peaceful position.
Yes.
Fair enough. Okay, great.
Well, cool. Patrick, thank you so much for giving us this deep dive. Really helpful, and I'm interested to try Apocalypse myself, so this has been really great.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. I'm psyched to talk about Apocalypse and really excited to be back on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Norbert, do you remember the sign-off that we now do?
Yes. So until next time, cheers and happy gaming.